Read this. Lamentations 4:1. How is the gold become dim? How is the most fine gold changed? The stones of the sanctuary are poured out in the top of every street. The precious sons of Zion, comparable to fine gold, how are they esteemed as earthen pitchers, the work of the hands of the potter? Yeah, so with Jake, how they were considered before, they were considered like fine gold, man. The way they were, I think there's another one, another precept. But the way Jake was being looked at by the heathen is like, well, by everyone is what, like fine gold, man, incomparable. And this is what, and it's the law that gives us that difference, man. The law that makes us what, holy, which means separate. Because we had the law, the way we maneuvered, everyone could observe, hey, these people are different. And that's what basically set to put us on a higher level, man. I'm gonna have to look for that one later. But and that's hey, that's the state that Jake's meant to be in. We're basically meant to be righteous. We're meant to be examples of the righteousness of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua upon the earth. But you know, now we're in that state of that destroyed state, man. By and large, it says like what earthen pitchers, esteemed as earthen pitchers, which yeah, that's how Jake are esteemed now. But what that's not gonna last. Okay, let me it says what so back in Daniel 2, Daniel 2 and 45, it says, for so much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and they break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great power have made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. So yeah, that kingdom is gonna come, and it's gonna be set by Jake. That's been set. But what this is why Esau's carnal, because he's basically trying to affect and change things that have been set in stone, man. But this is, this is the big reason of why, because now we're in that time of the latter kingdom where it's the 10 toes, man, iron and miry clay, where they don't cleave all together. Because that's why it's like when you do Esau's power structure, it's what even the EU. These guys are meant to be together as a power structure, but then what you got Britain rebelling against other parts of the EU, and it says what in the scriptures? If Satan be divided against himself, how then shall his kingdom stand? Because how are you going to be able to have a kingdom and rulership, but then you guys are warring against each other? It's just like with Jake, back in the time where you had the split between the northern and southern kingdom, the time of Jeroboam. If Israel and Judah are warring against each other, how is Israel meant to be on top, man? Man, they're going around murking each other off. Okay, so back in Psalms 2. So Psalms 2 and 4. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh, the Lord shall have them in derision. Yeah, let me get okay, Luke 21 and 25. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. Yeah, so there's going to be signs in the sun and in the moon and the stars, signs in the heavens, man. Because that's why you see having blue moons, blood moons, all these different signs. It's signs of the times, man. Signs we're coming to the end of this present rulership, man. This thing's all going to be done away with and forgotten. Just like you can go and you can see, you can go and see the ruins of like Greece and Rome, it's gonna be what? America's gonna be uninhabited. It's gonna be what? The ruins of America, man. You're gonna have the land burning for a time, smoking for a time. Then it's just gonna be a desert. Ain't no one gonna be living there. But it says what? Upon the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, man. And you deal with that word perplexity.
I told you like to.
It's aparea. Where's the thing? Okay. Okay. So you go to the root word, apareo, and it says what? To be without resources, to be in straight. So it's G639 apareo. So to be perplexed. It says to be without resources, to be in straits, to be left wanting, to be embarrassed, and to be in doubt. So without resources, that's that's a light version is like when the first lockdown kicked off. There was no toilet paper, no bottled water. All these resources had been bought up, and you can easily get them. Now that's what they're experiencing that's what they're experiencing in Texas, where there's food shortages, the shelves are empty, running water is a thing that don't exist, man. There's a limited amount of running water to go around. That's that perplexity, man, and that's something you can have on a national scale. Because why? You're gonna have skirmishing and wars popping off. You're gonna have civil unrest to the point where society ain't gonna be functioning as you see it presently, man. Right now, you can go to the park. You can have a lovely afternoon out and have a good time. Enjoy the good weather. But it's when that time of trouble comes, when that perplexity comes, people are gonna be struggling to find food, water. There ain't gonna be no electricity. Ain't gonna be no heat. Man, I was watching what's this guy, man? Kevin Samuels, a video. He's talking to a woman, basically saying like women couldn't survive without men. Then he was using the example of Texas, like if the power cut out, how you gonna get clean water? And then she said she'd go to the ocean and just drink ocean water. Which should have fucking dropped, like you said, should have dropped dead if she drunk that, man. So it's like women really don't know survival skills, but in general, across the whole of society, people might enjoy watching some Bear Grylls, but they don't really know how to survive. A lot of people don't know how to make a fire, don't know how to purify water, don't even know that that's a thing that needs to be done, man. You might have people drinking stagnant water and then just get parasites and drop dead, man. All kinds of fruit, man. That's the main thing is like food and water. People really don't know, how to get. People don't know what berries or what fruits are safe to eat. Even like leaves, what herbs are safe, are edible. You don't know how to hunt. You don't know how to make do when it progresses back to that raw state, man, where you're just having to survive out in the wild. So that's why you're gonna have a massive amount of death, man. Massive amount of death when these judgments start coming down. It's gonna get wild. Okay, back in Psalms. So Psalms 2 and 4, he that sitteth in the heaven shall laugh, the Lord shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yeah, speak. When you're dealing with how the Lord speaks. You can go to when Moses was on the mountain, man, on Mount Sinai, and you had the other Jakes, the ones that were down there. They were like, "Oh, I want to speak to the Lord." So that's like, okay, but then they saw what the Lord spoke in like thunder, earthquakes, all kinds of terrors, man. It wasn't light. It was fearsome to behold, man. They were just like, "Yo, you know what? Nah, we're cool." Moses, you can deal with that. But that's what it is. So when the Lord speaks onto these nations in His wrath to vex them, that's bringing that destruction on them, man. Bring that hell on these nations. Because that's what's gonna happen. That's what how the Lord's gonna be dealing, man. It's gonna be what means when you do all the scriptures, when it says there's gonna be salvation for Israel, that basically means there's gonna be hell and destruction for the heathen, man. The other nations are gonna be getting fucked up. But that's why it's no one out here other than the elect. No one out here is looking for Jake to wake up and be raised up. The heathen ain't looking for it because they're basically knowing if that happens, hey, we're fucking done, mate. So verse 6, yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. Let me read that again. Verse 6, yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. Yeah, so the Lord's set his king. This is something, you go back to, what is it, Deuteronomy. It says, I believe it's, Deuteronomy. It says, you'll in no wise set a king over you from another nation, man. Which, that's what the vast majority of Jake is laboring and doing in the modern day, man. Anyone that's gone, like, you got people going out there voting for, whether they vote for Jeremy Corbyn or for Joe Biden or Boris Johnson, whichever heathen that's in a rulership position over a nation, you going out and voting for them, that's you setting up a king that's not of your nation over you, man. Which that's something Jake ain't meant to do. Because why? The heathen ain't got nothing, ain't got no investment in Jake being raised up, Jake being in a better state. That's clear. Because why? Even when you deal with America, you deal with OBZ, man. This guy was meant to, everyone was pretending this guy was a Jake. Well, this guy's a heathen, man. Nimrod. But this guy was set up. How did America improve? How did the state of Jake in America improve? From when he was in office from 2008 to 2016. They didn't really life didn't get better for Jakes. Jakes was still getting fucking shot up. Jakes was still on the bottom. Jakes was still all kinds of fruit, man. You see the ghettos are still filled with Jakes to this day, man. They still don't know the truth. The vast majority of Jake have no clue who the hell they are, man. They don't know they're Israel according to the Bible. They're still in that completely destroyed state, man. So let me, maybe I'll get off. So that's why it's the Lord basically already set up the king, man. He set up the line, he set up the house, man. That's why it's the house of David. That's why it's the house of David that's being built back up. Because that's who the Lord set up as the king over Israel, man. And that's why you're going to have King David return, man. You're going to have Marshall, you're going to have all the elders that basically died in the faith. They're at rest now, but they're going to return. They're going to come back with when Yahushua makes his return.
It'll be 6 months since I last had.
Wasn't going to get. Damn, I just completely forgot. It's the New Testament. Was it Israel? Was it Revelation? Slipped my mind completely. Okay, let me go back. So it says, yet have I set my king upon I completely forgot. Verse 7, I will declare the decree Yahweh hath said unto me, thou art my son, and this day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance. The heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Yeah, so it's only a thing that we need to ask. Because that's how the Lord's going to have it go down, man. It's when Jacob raised up, that brings all the other nations into subjection underneath them. And that's the kingdom of heaven, man. That's the greatness of the reward. So that's why it's you know, completely cuckoo. It's completely batshit crazy for you to be thinking that salvation can apply for everyone, because it's only going to apply to Israel, man. Now the other nations are going to receive, well, the heathen other than Esau are going to be blessed after they've served their 1,000 years of bondage. They're going to be blessed afterwards through Israel. But it's what, they're not going to have their own rule. They ain't going to be setting up their own kingdom. It's going to be the kingdom of heaven, man. And they ain't going to be going off either. Jake's going to be keeping them in check, man, making sure they're following the laws. Says what? Thou shalt break them. What was I was going to say? I can't even remember. So verse 9, thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Yeah, so that having the rule, having other nations in subjection is going to mean what? You'll be able to bash their heads in, man. It's going to be just like you watch any movie of any movie dealing with bondage, dealing with Jake getting fucked up, dealing with slavery. You go, you watch it, you'll be seeing all the shit that Jake was experiencing, all the fuckery there to deal with, being shipped out over the boats, being tied up like fucking planks of wood in the hull, and having their teeth smashed in and being forced to eat, forced to survive. All this, getting infections, someone pissing and shitting all over your face. These things, same shit's gonna happen to Esau, man. These other nations are gonna receive what we received and worse. These guys are gonna be getting messed up, man. This is why it's counted as part of the reward, man. To have power over the nations. Because why? They've had power over us. It's only right that we basically get to correct that. Because what was it? Numbers 35 and 33. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. So when you deal with judgment, it's bringing balance back. Because you look at America, Jake blood got shed all over that place, man, and still being shed to this day. Jake has been getting jacked up by that land. They've been all kinds of fucked up. But where's the the balance been, the correction been to that? Jake ain't had a time where they've basically received a recompense upon Esau for it. They've only so-called been freed, but then it's what the servitude they're in is what that debt-based slavery, man. They ain't really received salvation. Didn't even get this. Deuteronomy 28 and 68. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Yeah, no one's gonna save us. So us going into that state of slavery, no heathen's gonna come in and basically save us out of that. That's why it's to this day, man. I think, was there more on Psalms?
No sé, porque es una tontería. Efectivamente podían correr por aquí en vez de por todas partes.
Okay, let's back in Psalms 2 and 10. Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Serve Yahweh with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and ye perish from the way, when his wrath is kindled. But a little. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. Yeah, so serve the Lord, serve Yahweh Hashem Yahushai with fear and rejoice with trembling. Yeah, that's that fear of the Lord. It's because why? It's because that's how the lack of that is what got us in the present situation we're in, and that's a big part of why Esau, why the heathen aren't going to receive their what do you call it, man? Why they're not going to receive a part in the kingdom, man? These guys, they don't fear the Lord, because you have to think about for you to lay your hands on basically the chosen people of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. You don't know what the fuck's going on, man.
I would just say, you want a map?
Okay. Psalms. Psalms 83 and 1. Psalms 83 and 1. Keep not thou silence, O Most High. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Most High. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. These guys have hate for the Most High, have hate for his children as well, man. That's why it's otherwise. For you to go in as hard as you've gone, basically for the destruction of Jake, and these nations are all party to it, man. These guys are all part of the group that are keeping Jake on the bottom, man, keeping them in that destroyed state. Okay, that's what I was gonna get. Revelation 11. Yeah. Okay. Just remember. Okay, I'll go back to that. And when they shall have finished the temple. Okay, Revelation 11, start from verse 6. These have power to shut heaven. They reign not in the day. They reign not in the days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. See, it's talking about the prophets, man. It says what, the two olive trees. Because that's what you call it. What who was it? It was Elijah and Moses. I think I was thinking of. But it's what those two acts. It's what the northern and southern kingdom, man. It's basically with these prophecy where spinning against this place. It's you know, this place is spiritually being brought down, man. That's why we're warring against what spiritual wickedness in high places, man. Because that's why Esau's trying to keep us off the streets. So it says what, verse 7. And when they shall finish their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them. Yeah, so Esau, his power structure, is basically what came against Jake, and you know, overcame, destroyed Jake, brought them into captivity. It says what, and their dead bodies basically took away all understanding, all knowledge of who we were as a people, man. You deal with the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Both of us had no fucking clue what was going on for the longest time. You know, that time of hardcore bondage. It says what, shall make war against them, shall overcome them and kill them, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Yeah, so Jake was in that dead state, which when you go to, what is it, Proverbs 21:16, because he that wandereth out of the way of the understanding shall be in the congregation of the dead. So we're in that completely dead state where he had no understanding whatsoever. And this is what, and a dead body shall lie in the street of the great city, which is spiritually called Sodom of Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Yeah, where the image of Yahweh Shai was destroyed as well. Because when you deal with the Renaissance, that's when it went from, because you look during it through the Dark Ages, you got icons, Russian icons, all over Europe. Then it has, for some strange reason, all these angels, all these prophets, and Yahweh Shai as well, they're all dark skinned. For some strange reason, I can't seem to fathom. But that's because Jake was in rulership. So all those images, Esau basically replaced it with what? With his own image, man. That's why you see from the Renaissance, you had like what? All these artists basically putting out artwork of that Cesare Borgia, man. He was basically set up as that new image of Yahweh Shai. The dead body shall lie in this. Okay. Well, also Allah was crucified. So that new image, that image was crucified, and America plays a big part in how that image was spread as well, man. Well, spread specifically upon our people as well. Because, well, even when you deal with Cesare Borgia, that's all over the globe, man. You go all around the world, they got white Jesus, and people say, oh, because everyone just draws him looking like, well, it describes how Yahweh Shai looks in the scriptures. That's recorded. You know, he's a dark-skinned man with a white woolly afro. Actually, you know what? I think I'll just get. So I ain't got that in a while. Revelation 1. Revelation 1:13. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. Yeah, so that's the Son of Man. That's talking about Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Jesus Christ. And it says what? His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow. So white woolly hair, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, which is from drinking wine. If you go to like what Genesis 49, I believe it says his eyes will be red with wine. And then was it Matthew 11? It says Yahweh Shai was a wine bibber. So red with wine. And it says verse 15, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace. Yeah, so his feet were like brass. Brass is brown. If you ever seen brass, that's brown. You fire the brass, it goes dark as hell. Oxidizes and gets very dark. So he's a very dark-skinned man with a white woolly afro. You know, this is something that, you know, people will say, well, you'll read that to them, and then people will say straight after, oh, you know, there's still no description of how Jesus looks in the Bible, which is just not true. But that's why it's what that image has been destroyed. People will say that, but then everywhere you go, and there'll be images of white Jesus Christ. You know, under every rock you turn. So back in Revelation 11, verse 9, it says, and they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. Yeah, so all these other nations, everyone else around the world, this is why no one partook in no one, you know, was like, okay, we're gonna fight, we're gonna crusade to free, you know, these Israelites from captivity. Everyone just observed, man, and rejoiced. Because why? Because all these nations, they've had enmity against Jake for the longest, man. You go back to the time when Jake was in the land, all the nations around about them. You can go into ancient Hebrew maps. You had like Moab, Ammon, Edom, Mizraim. You had all kinds of nations all around Jake. None of them were allies, man. These guys are all enemies. It says what? And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them, and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another. Everyone's rejoiced, made merry. Everyone was enjoying. Even when you deal with America, that you know, the commerce that America's that's basically been built off the back of slavery. Everyone's still enjoying and enjoying what America. Ugh, my tongue's getting tired. But it's basically, you know, what was America built off the back of slavery. Everyone throughout the world is enjoying, man. They're enjoying even the philosophies that have been built in America. Everyone's enjoying. Everyone's built up that same political system that you see in the West, man. That Esau got from ancient Rome. And what? It says, why are these guys rejoicing? It says, because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth. Yeah, because all these other nations, they're basically they remembered back to when Israel had the rule, Israel had the power over them, and these guys were put in subjection, which is why they made they all grouped together, they all got together, basically to fuck up to keep Jake in that destroyed state, which is something that's been maintained and sustained, man. What do you do with Jake? These guys aren't involved in the what do you call it? The big leadership, world leadership, man. The way the world was ruled, like the UN, the G7. You don't have the so-called Negroes called up. Don't have so-called Hispanics. These guys aren't basically involved in these circles. Because why? Because a big part of why that leadership all comes together is to keep Jake in that subjected state. So, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth. So yeah, they were enjoying Jake being in that destroyed state. Oh, okay, verse 11. And after 3 days and a half, the Spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them, which saw them. Yeah, so that period of time of you know, the heathen enjoying Jake being destroyed, that was flipped. Because as soon as Jake woke up, as soon as that truth started coming out, through the 70s, man, through Abba Bivens, Rabbi Abba Bivens, basically bringing the truth out. From there onwards, the truth's multiplied, man, to the point where now it's going around the world, man. Hundreds of thousands of videos daily getting uploaded, being pushed around the world of that truth going out, of who Israel is, of, you know, what's getting ready to happen to this place, the prophecies, the mark of the beast, which is a microchip, World War III, all these, you know, the return, you know,